All right, welcome back, Bruno, again.
Yo.
So we've understood that the engagement is pretty high in this video from different kind of reasons, I think. Uh, it's because the subject is kind of difficult to speak about, and I think the main issue with this video is that everybody's idea of what talent is kind of different, I think, in my opinion. So that's why, because this video already has 80 comments, instead of like I thought I'm gonna answer all of them in the beginning and try to like explain our point of view and like get into discussion with you, because basically we're doing videos for you guys, so we want engagement from you and we don't want to leave like huge engagement without our like answer. So I think that will be cool to go through this video again. I mean, more go through this like comment section and like get in touch with you guys and like have some like conversation with you guys. Um, so I think maybe in the beginning we should establish what really is talent for us again, because we did that in the last video. We started like considering and like figuring out like what talent is in general, because we figured that there is like something like general talent, and then we had like obviously some talents for each players, because if you are in top, basically in top, it means you need to have some kind of talent. The difference is, guys, that we are comparing the talents between pro players. Obviously, if you're gonna take some pro player and then you're gonna compare it to like regular Joe who's playing Quake, he has like much more talent, right? Because that's why he climbed on top, right, Ins?
Of course. And that's the main thing of the video is that everyone has their own definition of talent, since it's not like the easiest thing to define, and it's
Mhm.
very subjective. And we already defined it at the start of the last video, but we should, as you say, define it again. General talent, and everyone has their own talents. And
Mhm.
when we say that one pro player, as Avik was saying, is not as talented as the others, it doesn't mean that he's not more talented than literally everyone else competing.
Mhm.
Because if, as Eric said, if you're a pro, you're more talented than all of the other players still, because you needed to reach the top.
Yeah, and especially you can't take it personally, because I know all of you guys have your favorite player or you like certain style of playing, and there will be a lot of you defending Rapha. But let's say if you guys think that talent, that results speak for the talent of the player, then basically our video would be like, what is up, guys? Welcome in another episode of videos of Endpoint. We are gonna discuss the talents. Hello, Bruno. Okay, so the biggest results was made by Rapha, like for the last decade or something, and that's it. That's the end of the video. Thank you. Please subscribe, hit the like, and make sure to follow us and let us know what you think. But it's not that easy, especially with Quake, which is so complex. Because, okay, let's say we try to establish who is the biggest aimer. It's only one part of the game. It's only one part of the game, the aiming, right? But even then, you cannot say that, okay, Strenx is the, because one of you gonna say, okay, but Strenx is the best LG player, and there is like, we're not even gonna discuss it. Yeah, but you don't consider that Strenx cannot hit shit with shotgun, right? Or something like that, where like clawz, he gonna basically spawn off spawn, and he will be gangbanging you straight away, like from spawn from the force weapon. And how, even in such subject, which is aiming, like you need to like, select it, you need some hit scans and then projectiles. But then, okay, it's not even enough. Then you need like certain weapons. You need like LG, it's like, and machine gun, because you got some people who are extremely good with LG and they are not as good with like machine gun, or you got some people who are really good with machine gun, but they are not really that good with LG, and vice versa. And then you got railgun, and then you got like weird weapons, like unorthodox weapons, like Tribolt, and you got some masters of it in now, or like plasma in previous Quakes, or like nailgun. It's like, with aim alone you cannot really make it easy. You need to do some selection, and with whole Quake, with everything like mechanical skills. Okay, now mechanical skills, it's like not only aim, then it's movement, then it's like, how you control your mouse, like how you behave in a stressful situation, then you got mental, then you got timing, then you got like, positions, like the overall gameplay, the results you're getting from playing, etc. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, if you try to like make a mind map of all the skills in Quake, you end up with like 80 different skills. And that's the beauty of Quake. You have a lot of different branches that everyone can specialize in. Oh, like in all the pro players are really good at all of them, and then you have some who specialize in one or another topics. And it's hard to compare what is more important because depending on how well you specialize, you can be one of the best players just by being very good at a few of them and
Mhm.
about average in the rest.
Yeah, that's why like I see in the comments there is like a lot of like discussion and different opinions because you guys consider talent as something different, like majority of you and us as well included. So for me, what I explained before, talent is like natural gift. So you got natural gift for something, right? Uh, for example, if you take like fitness or like bodybuilding industry, talent will be your genetics. So you got advantage in the beginning. In Quake, your advantage is, or like in any other discipline, is that in my opinion, that you can like learn faster than the others, and you don't need to put as much time into it. If let's say you got a kid and you send him to the football school, right, on the trainings, and he's like constantly going like 3 5 times per week, like when he's like 6 years old, and you often hear something from the coaches or something, oh, you got talent for this, or you got like, yeah, you got talent for this, even though like maybe somewhere in between these kids there's like young Ronaldo, but he doesn't show off in the beginning, but the hard work throughout the years like pushes him to the top and he becomes the best player. Sometimes like I remember I was playing football and I was doing a lot of sports, and very often people who had the most talent, they had the least like work ethic, and basically the guys who were like the best in the beginning and they had the most talent like a kids, they were just like vanishing, disappearing. Same in Quake. I also met so many people who were like extremely talented in the beginning and very good, but they were just simply vanishing over the years. And it's like, and it doesn't mean that the guy who has talent is better than the other guy, because for example, if we go back to football and you ask me for talent, I will like right away like think something like Ronaldinho, for
Neymar,
example, or like
yeah,
Neymar.
Neymar,
Ronaldinho,
Ronaldinho,
for
Brazilians. You think talent,
yeah,
you think
yeah.
Brazil.
But it doesn't necessarily. But then, like, I will never name Ronaldo. And when you ask me who is the better player, Ronaldinho or Ronaldo, I won't hesitate. I will straight away say Ronaldo. It doesn't,
True.
it's like completely different.
And that's there's been studies on like kids who are told they are talented, they
Mhm.
usually wind up not practicing as much because they believe themselves to be more talented.
Yeah.
So in the end, they kind of like praising someone like that kind of diminishes the hard work they put into the game.
Mhm. That's what
And
happened. What happened with few like basketball players? I think like 10 years ago, we had some like Russian dude which was extremely tall, and everybody expected him to play in the NBA, and he never made it. You had like Alexei Lesukov in bodybuilding, who was like extremely good at age of 16, and he never make it to the Mr. Olympia. Like you can name like a lot of like sports like this. I know you are versatile guys, so I'm like throwing like different kind of examples. Boxing, for example. Like if you speak talent, I straight away think Mike Tyson with his speed. The guy was 5'8" or 5'9" at most. He was like few centimeters taller than me, and he was heavyweight world champion. It would never happen nowadays. He was like extremely like fast, extremely strong. His mental, he was unbreakable. He wanted to kill people in the ring, basically. That's pure talent. And when I think of Tyson Fury or Klitschko, I think of two really boring boxers, and I don't even like find it fancy to watch them because I don't know as much about boxing. But if you ask me who is the better like boxer, Tyson Fury or Mike Tyson, it's like Tyson Fury. He's much more like he won much more and he achieved much more. and it's doesn't put one on the other or the other, like the better or worse. Like in general, if we would speak about the best Quake player, I would straight away say Rapha. And like when I didn't name him as a talented guy, most talented guys, it's not that I'm hating him, because I'm praising him in every video. And you know, even he probably didn't get mad at me, because today he was sending me some memes on Instagram. So, so
Was it talented memes?
quite, because I laughed. I was sitting in toilet, like doing the second one,
The only
and I
acceptable place to browse Instagram.
yeah, and I laughed hard. So anyway, yeah, that's what talent is for me, and for you guys might be something else. It's like, also, I will give you another example. So if you guys running, for example, marathon, right? Even if one of you guys is like running already, like for let's say years, like for like 2 3 years, and you're trying to, like, hit the marathon under 3 hours or something. uh, I might not run now at all, and you are a much better runner than me, because I never run. But maybe if I started to run, maybe it would take me like 1 year or 1.5 to break 3 hours for marathon. And then what? You are the better runner, but maybe naturally there is someone in the world who has like just more talent for it, and it will take you 3 4 5 years. Some people will never break 3 hours like marathon time, like ever, because they are like, they are not gifted for this sport. They will never break it. They will still run because they find it, fun and entertaining, etc. Like you also guys play Quake and you don't aim to be pro because you find it like fun and entertaining. And and you might be the better player than your friend who never touched the Quake, but maybe if he touched the Quake, maybe he will become better than you. And that's what is talent for me.
I completely agree.
Okay, so I think we should just simply jump to the comments, and I'm gonna
All 80 of them.
I'm gonna skip the first one because this is where I announced that we're gonna make a video. Uh, okay, so the first one is from. I will try to read your names, guys, so it's more personally. But some of your names probably gonna be too difficult to read. But yeah, so Swabby John said that saying that Rapha isn't part of the top of the most talented is a terrible take. Rapha has the natural ability to see further down the road into the match than anyone, and this is probably the most important thing to have. He is an extremely hard-working player, but no amount of hard work is going to make someone have foresight to that degree. That is pure talent. Uh, and here, the first part, saying that Rapha isn't part of the top of the most talented is a terrible take. But we never said that. That's why when we are like discussing in the beginning that Rapha is not talented, then I said, okay, let's stop. Like generally, cYpheR is more talented. But then later in the video, we came to the point where we said both Rapha and cYpheR, their talent was to find the perfect game style which fits them, try to push it over other players, force it on other players, and make it work. And like basically no one else than Rapha and cYpheR did it in this game. That's huge talent. Both of them have much different play styles, and they managed to like force it on their opponents. And like seeing further, like this famous like 3 steps ahead, which Rapha said in one interview in 2008 or something. It's like that's also ability, and we could like jump on the details, but the video will be 10 hours long because we will have to discuss Rapha playstyle. He's seeing like naturally, he's seeing like further, he's like reading opponents, he's playing on timing and pure aggression and like making like um, pressure on your opponent. And cYpheR is like someone who takes the his ground, and he's like listening, he's like has huge game sense and understands what his opponent gonna do. But it's like it's for like longer talk.
Yeah, and like we never said Rafa isn't part of the top of the most talented. Like we've said this video and the last one that every pro player is extremely talented. That's how they make it to pro. But then there are levels to that when it comes to the pros. And Rafa, when it comes to the pros, is probably on the lower echelon of the most talented.
Mhm.
And yeah, his ability to to make great decisions is definitely what sets him apart from the rest for me.
Yeah, and this is basically what I answered in the comments for him. So that's a quick one. The second comment is from calwerz. calwerz. Maybe people tend to think that Rapha is not the most talented because he does not do often flashy moves, but this is not because he cannot do those. He just optimizes for efficiency and avoid risks suboptimal plays. But if forced, example in the last minutes of an intense match, he can definitely show that the raw talent is there as well, insane shots, etc. Yeah, but like if you take any top player, as we said before, from every single top player, you will see insane shots. For example, if we take if we take Zanaku as an example with insane shots, because you can say, yeah, but like Zanaku in like QPL season 2 online stage when he played against Raisy, he hit 70% of like railgun, and he's like aim god, and he's like a godlike aim wise, etc. In my opinion, honestly, Zanaku is the least gifted mechanical player I ever seen from any pro in Quake. Honestly, like, and then even by him, you can see insane shots. And if you obviously if you compare him to regular Joe, he's like serious X X4 or something. He's like, boosted serious. It's like serious on steroids. Please check him pants. Something is wrong with this guy. But if you compare him to Sirius, to clawz, to like Raisy, to cYpheR, even to Rapha, which like, cause like mechanical skills is also movement. Like Zanaku is hitting walls basically. If you compare him to any other pro, he basically is not gifted mechanically player. He has other like talents in his game and like in his attitude, in his mental, etc. Like hardworking. But he's just like comparing him to other pros. He's just not mechanically gifted. Like you cannot compare him to like clawz or Sirius or like to name them the hang like really good like aim etc maxter. It's just uncomparable. Obviously you're gonna see some crazy shots because he's a pro player, he's the top player, he's one of the best in the world, he's better than 99% of our community basically. But compared to them, to the other pros, he has no talent for like for like mechanical skills or like you know he's not simple of CS or something.
Yeah, and this comment also talks about that Rapha optimizes for efficiency and avoids risky suboptimal plays. I think maybe that would be more like Rapha in Quake Live, because Rapha in Quake Champions, he just goes,
Hmm.
doesn't really care about the if the fight is risky or not. He'll just take a lot of fights because he knows in the end,
Hmm.
if you take a lot of fights, he can still maintain his high level of decision making no matter the pace of the game. So he can
Hmm.
slow down the game, he can play super fast,
Hmm.
and that's really excellent. The decision making that he maintains at any pace.
Hmm. It's just different game. Like Quake Champions also, I think, allows you to play like more aggressive.
Yeah.
And I think if you play a lot like Rapha, because Rapha is a type of a grinder player. He really puts hard work in it. Like he often mentioned in interviews after QPL seasons that like his regular regime is like playing about 4 hours per day and then rewatching everything he played because he streams all of his practice games. So it's 8 hours per day. Find me another Quake pro player who puts 8 hours a day in Quake Champions. If you if you add another top 8 from QPL, all of them combined sometimes not gonna put as much.
Yeah.
For real. For real.
Especially when it comes to VOD watching. Like you can tell when watching Rafa that he puts a lot of effort in watching his own gameplay because that's how you get better decision making. Like if you can finish a game, rewatch the VODs, and then when you make a decision, you can say, "I would make that decision again."
Mhm,
Then it means you made the right decision. Because
mhm,
for Rafa, like the result of like a decision doesn't really matter as much as the quality of the
mhm.
decision he made at the start.
And my point is like because he's like putting time into the game, it means he understands it better and he kinda not naturally, but he kinda have like better game sense. Because like he went over like so many scenarios, so many situations that is very hard to surprise him. That's why also like aggressive playstyle works on him because aggression creates pressure on your opponent. Pressure uh, forces you to make more mistakes because you don't have as much time to think. If Rapha would slow down the game, he would give the edge to his opponents who are not as well prepared. That's why I think this playstyle works on for him especially. Uh, okay, another comment is from AdanKownacki 1517, and it's very interesting and with great atmosphere talk. Good job again. PS. Pozdr Krzysiek. So Krzysiek is the first Polish name, and it's not my first Polish name. So, but thank you anyway. My name is Maciej, but thank you. Next one is Sunbank underscore FPS. Okay, this is very interesting. I remember this comment. It's about Vo0. As someone who watched pretty much every Painkiller CPL World Tour game, cover it for ESR at the time, Vo0 was just on another level. A fatality style bored you to death, a masterclass of shameless armor camping defensive cheese, which ended up being a good matchup against the flowery Vo0 who would get frustrated by such antics. In fast-paced games, CPMA, Painkiller, Quake champions with the right matchups, I would easily give Vo0 the nod as the most talented player. His style mental didn't translate well to a slower duel like in Quake 3 and Quake Live though. And yeah, this is what we said exactly. Like I even said that we had bootcamp with Vo0 when he switched from like Quake 4 to Quake 3, or Quake Live was that? No, Quake 3. And I clearly could see that slow games are not for him, and he didn't do well. And this is also part of the talent. As I said, what shows for that's why you guys were arguing about Strenx, that how can I not like put Strenx on a pedestal, and like he's not, one of the criteria for me is like if a player switches games, for example, from Quake 3 to Quake 4, he's still very good. For example, cooler switch from Quake 3 to Quake 4, extremely good. cYpheR, extremely good. uh, if you're switching games from like Rapha switched from like Quake Live to Overwatch to like Quake Champions. Everywhere he was good. It shows me that he is capable of switching, and he has like a lot of talent. What even shows me more of a talent is if you switch into a new game and you start really strong. It means Vo always switch games, and he started very strong. He started very strong with Painkiller. He started very strong with Quake 4. He jumped to Quake Champions and he became like second best player of the fourth like biggest tournament till now, like for the $1 million. He was
Yeah.
second on QuakeCon. So it means he has like a lot of like talent for new games. It's like the exception is, for example, Fatality, but I also answered that he didn't like jump on the new game and became the best because he was like super talented. It's like he basically knew the game is coming up. His whole business idea was like creating himself as the best like FPS player of all time, and he was jumping on a game, he was jumping on a beta, he was getting like access earlier, and he was grinding it to the bone, and then winning the first one or two tournaments and then falling apart. Basically that's the story in most of the games except this Painkiller grand final when like Vo kind of choked, in my opinion. But yeah, we spoke about that. We said exactly the same, that like that shows that Vo is like one of the very few best talented players.
And I think even more respect to him because by the time Quake Champions came around, he hadn't competed in any game in like over 10 years.
Hmm.
No sane player would come back after 10 years and think of competing seriously. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And he got second place in like the first QuakeCon and then in Italy Open as well. If I like just a couple of months after versus Gilson. It's
Yeah,
insane. His biggest talent for me is the movement.
yeah.
He has like the best movement out of any player I've ever seen.
Yeah, in any game, like same was in Painkiller, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched some Painkiller games and like I enjoyed the movement the most of him. Like same in Quake 4, he was extremely good with the movement, and then he switched to Quake Champions, and like all the champions like AdanKownacki and other champions like this, so like he adapted really quickly. Uh, then we got Alianis7524. It's a new comment. I would also love to see analysis videos of old and new matches, and this is my idea for the future. What I wanted to do is invite someone like Ins or Zoot or some of the ex-casters and try to go through the like gold matches, like let's say cYpheR Cooler on Aerowalk, Quake on 2010.
Nice.
For me, that's one of the, I don't know, for me personally, that's the best game I ever watched. And I remember I was watching this game and I was like basically jumping on the fucking chair when I like all the time, like because cYpheR was like surviving on 2 HP. But I don't want to switch subjects because the video gonna take 10 hours. So I'm gonna skip another comment of this guy and then talking roughly talent, cYpheR is the king, and this is also like my opinion. Roughly, generally, if you would add up all the things, and especially that he was also very like he had like great results and he was like multi-time champion in like different quakes. I think like overall, I thought cYpheR is like the most talented guy.
Yeah, I mean he's won tournaments in virtually every Quake, like past Quake 3, right? He won tournaments in Quake 3, Quake 4, Quake Live, Quake Champions. Even in Diabolical, he played Diabolical for a very short time, and he was still winning tournaments versus the best
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Like Agent was grinding the game. Okay, so now let's say Agent had more success in Diabolical than cYpheR, right? So,
Hmm.
do you guys consider Agent more talented than cYpheR? Dude, dude spent it like 24/7, like in
He
Diabolical
still does.
since the very first day till the very end of the day. Where cYpheR was playing QPL, he was like hanging around all day, and then he like once per month he came for the like online cup to Diabolical and practice a little bit before to just like to lose in a final against Agent or even beat him. It's like how can you? It's like it's uncomparable like amount of the skill, amount of the like natural talent. Okay, we got another one from dariodesu. In my opinion, I think winZ is one of the most talented FPS player ever, and
Did we skip wins in the last video?
I think we spoke about him, but we didn't give him enough credit, and I agree.
Yeah. I'll just say right now, for me, wins is the probably the best arena FPS player ever.
Mhm.
Like probably one of the best FPS player ever, honestly.
Yeah, because if you want, let's say there is like tournament coming up 4v4 in Quake Champions, and you create in the team, and you can pick anyone you want.
It's wins.
winZ is definitely one of the guys you want to pick first. It's winZ, it's maybe Tox, it's maybe, maybe clawz if he starts to play a bit.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's a big if.
Noctis, there's very few like team modes players who you like straight away pick. I will straight away pick Noctis, winZ, and then based on that I will fill it with someone else.
And even if you go away of like the Quake realm, like wins has won world championships in like in Quake
Unreal.
4, in Quake 3, in Quake Live, in Quake Champions, in Overwatch, in two different Unreal tournaments as well. That's like
Yeah.
6 different world champions or 7 in like as many different games. That's insane. Because we were talking about Fatality earlier. Fatality won the first championship in every game before switching.
Yeah.
Wins came into an already established scene and then won a world champion there. You know
Yeah.
how insane that is.
Yeah. So if Fatality goes by motto like 12 times champion in 5 different games, it's easily beaten by winZ basically. Ins was
Yeah.
I remember Ins before I start winZ Ins.
Thank you.
No,
I wish.
you are welcome. The most talented player out there. Anyway, I remember winZ even before starting playing. He was winning already SWC 2003, I think, in Unreal Tournament. And then I was going to my first ESWC in 2006, and he won that one, I think,
In Quake 4.
or was yeah, I think he won against cYpheR
Yeah,
in
yeah. Like
final.
in the ESWC 2005 was Unreal, like Unreal 2K4. He won it, and a year later he beat cYpheR in
Yeah,
ESWC 2006 in Quake 4.
yeah,
If
yeah,
that's not talent, nothing is.
yeah. That's
Not just
crazy.
he didn't just learn a new game in under a year.
And
He
then he
became the best in under a year. That's insane.
yeah, and then he was also like top player in Overwatch. And then on top of that, he moved to Czech Republic and he was playing on high level poker. Dude,
Oh
that
right, yeah, as
that's
well.
extreme. That's fucking extreme.
And I didn't even mention Diabolical because he was also winning the Diabolical championships with when he played with Team Liquid.
Yeah. So, even this showed that there is so many talented players that we legit didn't give enough credit to winZ in that video. And thank you, dariodesu, for like reminding us because yeah, There is so many players that we probably still forgetting some of them, or we don't really want to go into some like antique times, like late 90s or something, because and all the there was also Quake 1, Quake 2, Quake World. We'll have to name all of them, and we don't I don't really find myself professional enough to know as much about other Quakes as I do about like Quake 3, Quake Live, Quake 4, and more like the modern era from like 2004, let's say, which is still very far away for most of you guys, because some of you like probably are younger than me, and you maybe don't remember those times.
And honestly, I still have the same opinion that anything like even before 2005, the biggest talent was having a good internet connection and gear.
Yeah,
That was the biggest talent.
or the guy who was winning LAN tournaments actually, where there was competition. So like that's why LAN back then was so important, and that's why cooler always was saying like do it on LAN, because I think in the games with Swedes like Fox, Tox, or other guys, he was having hard time because he had much worse internet than them, and he felt that he is better than them, because like at that time cooler was ahead of everyone, like with timings, with how to play. Like nobody was on that level. Like at some point, like let's say in 2004, 2005, I think cooler was kind of like dominating that scene. uh, okay. Okay, we got one more. Michael 37486, we need an interview with Faye, and I answered that. Yeah, that we need some potential questions. I need to do some more research on Faye, because the only thing I know about him is that he plays Quake Champions now, and he's Serbian, and he's a good aimer, and that's it. So I would need to do a research. If you guys got any idea what should I speak about with him, or like maybe you want me to speak more like about aiming itself. I don't know, because I think if you want some episode about like Kovacs aiming, like improving, I think we can get someone like some like better examples who are like specializing only in that aspect. Alianis 7523, last question, I swear. What is your take on the talent Strongsage as being the young blood? Maybe you got any opinion? Because like I need to gather my mind about Strongsage.
A Strongsage, uh, he came in and he disappeared very very fast, right? Because he came in, he
Mhm.
played for like a couple of years, he got to the top of American players. Sadly, he didn't really get the results on LAN he expected. Online, he was very strong,
Mhm.
but on LAN, he never really did as much as we saw he could do. I think if he had a couple more years, he
Mhm.
could have reached his full potential. But I think he was a bit impatient. I don't know how he's doing in Counter Strike now.
Mhm.
But I think Strong Sage's, talent, so to speak, was really the mindset that he had right from the start. He wanted to
Mhm.
be the best, and he was practicing a lot.
Mhm.
Right? He was one of probably the only player that was grinding more than Rapha.
Yeah, you got a podcast with him on this channel, and I remember him saying that sometimes he was waking up at 4 a.m. just to catch the time zone of Europeans and like catch some like good practice like with Europeans. That's insane.
Nice.
That's insane. And this is what I also wanted to say, like what Ins mentioned already. I think his biggest talent was the mindset, because if we look at his age, he's extremely young. Like there's no young people nowadays choosing very difficult games to improve in. So like if you are a young guy, you're never gonna choose Quake. Most likely you're not even gonna choose CS, which is like, very commercial nowadays, and like a lot of young guys playing it. Most likely you're not gonna go for that. You're gonna go for easier games. If he went for Quake, which is like raw FPS arena and it's very hard to improve, and you got like people who played 20 plus years in this game, and you try to improve and you get into the top and you get into the QPL only a few years after you started, that's extremely big talent, and it shows like how mentally strong you are. Because I remember when I was like starting Jules, and like back then it was fun to lose 40 to 0. I don't think it's fun for nowadays kids to lose 40 to 0.
I wouldn't say that's fun. That probably wasn't fun for anyone. You
Yeah.
just didn't have better experiences, I think.
Yep, or better games at that time.
Yeah, definitely.
That was only you could play, or CS, or where you also will get wrecked, or like Warcraft. Um, Fawad Rashid. In my opinion, clawz was very mechanically gifted and made it to the top, winning a few tournaments, which was phenomenal. But seeing his career and run, I consider him a one-hit wonder.
Huh.
And I agree. You can definitely. I mean, I understand people thinking like this. And I think like some people can think like similar thing about me because last time I won some big LAN tournament was basically in 2010 or 11 or something like this. I won like maybe more tournaments than him, but he didn't have like as long career. And I think if he continued to play, it's hard topic because I remember okay, even if he played and later on in the stage you had guys like that's why I'm okay. I will tell it completely different. That's why I said like talent for me is like jumping to new game and being extremely good from the beginning. That's why clawz jumped to the completely new game and he won world championship. Rapha jumped to completely different new game and he was like struggling getting top 8, top 12, top 16 in Quake champions. I remind you, he was like top 8, I think, or like top 12 in the first Quake champion, a Quake on like a $1 million tournament. And then he slowly grinded his way to the top and he stayed there. It means he started with a, like maybe a little less natural gift than clawz, but his hard work and like constant practice like paid off and he overcome clawz. And like you can see it clearly in the later stage, 2018 Romania, clawz, top 4, Rapha winning the tournament. So I think later on clawz, even though he was extremely gifted, extremely good mechanically, I'm not sure he will continue to on winning tournaments.
Yeah,
He will
depends
be in
on
top.
a lot of
He will
things.
definitely be top player. Sometimes like probably hitting like some like top 2, top 3, but I don't see him like, going full rampage and winning tournaments like Rapha, for example. No
Probably
way.
not. Like, I think winning the first QuakeCon probably hindered clawz's longevity by quite a lot. Because I
Hmm.
remember hanging around the 2Z guys. After they won the QuakeCon, they just never practiced again.
Hmm.
They just
Yeah.
completely stopped. clawz already didn't really practice duel, and he somehow still won the next QuakeCon. That's the only reason I wouldn't call him a one-hit wonder, because his career, despite short, it was still,
Yeah.
1 year and a half of
Yeah.
him winning 3 QuakeCons in 2 years
Yeah.
and getting second places in 2018 in like all the 2v2 tournaments. But yeah, he definitely didn't really care about practicing anymore after winning the first QuakeCon.
Yeah. But this is exactly good like example for me, right? clawz, Rapha, and you ask me about
Yeah, yeah.
talent, I will say clawz. But better player by far Rapha. By far, it's like you can clearly see that he overcame clawz within like 1 year or 1.5. So this is the difference. For example, we are running for marathon with you guys. You can break the 3 hours like time in 4 years. But let's say I start running and I got natural gift and I do it in 2 years. It doesn't mean you are better. I'm better runner because maybe I will stop and you guys continue and your like highest record will be 250 and mine will be 258 and you are the better runner in the end. And like the only thing you remember is like that the winner in the end. So yeah. I will skip this one because like okay, because I think this one from wladdragwlya is not it's not really it's about something different. It's about generations and I don't think it's like connected with the topic as much. We can jump to it later on. Ronnie Mill Sub, love this. Do you guys think that if clawz was same age and started at the same time playing and practicing Quake, that he would have turned into something we never seen before? I wonder that about the talents that seem to only get the fire for the short while. Yeah, so we basically answered that just now.
Yeah. If he had the motivation and
Yep.
the mindset to keep practicing, then he would be a complete player.
Mhm. Anthony
Sadly, we
Fresco.
rarely get to see that.
Yeah, Anthony Fresco. Read some of the Reddit comments to us next time, please. And Avek, your mic is way too quiet, and the other guy way too loud. Let us know, guys, how is my mic, how is In's mic, and we'll see. And then he jumps on the topic itself. Rapha is the most talented at mindset and positive attitude, and he has another level of thinking that nobody else has shown. I agree. I think the only player who has like more positive attitude is Gilson, honestly. I think like he never thinks bad, and I say that based on playing like 2v2 with him. Because
Gilson
like
has golden retriever energy.
yeah, because like when I played with cYpheR, we were 2v2. We were like, I remember sitting in DreamHack and we were like, sitting in hotel and we were like, man, we play so shit. Oh my fucking god, we are so terrible. Like, did you see our match against Maestro on like Corrupted? We legit like two dumb fucks were sitting on a heavy and we continue to speak like this. And when I try to speak like this with Kilsen, he's like, no man, we actually won that map. What the fuck are you talking about? We are doing good. We just need to like polish few things here and there. We're gonna fix this and it's fine and we completely gonna do well tomorrow. And it's like completely different like vibe with him. So it's like he has like extreme positive attitude. But I agree, Rapha as well. And once Rapha got internet, okay. And once Rapha got internet, he became a top 3 player Quake 3 in like 1 year. He learns fast and understands the strategy better than everyone. He understands strategy better than anyone, but like we got like, as I said, we got more examples of people who were like winning much faster than him. Like I basically won the ESWC when I was 16 years old, and I played the game like I played in general like computer for a few years, and the game I won in was like Quake 4, which was like not even a year old, and I won it against Cooler, who was already competing for like it was 2006, so he was competing for like at least 6 years. In 2000, okay, 4 years professionally, because 2002 he went to WCG Korea. Rapha always started slow in every game, and then he same with. I don't think Yeah, in Quake Live, he also wasn't winning the first events. In 2008, okay, 2008 was Quake 3. Yeah, first Quake Live, QuakeCon was won by cYpheR, I think. Uh,
No, the first QuakeCon in Quake Live, it was in 2008, right?
mhm.
That one was cYpheR for sure.
Yeah.
Right? Versus 0-4, I think. It was that almost lost game.
Yep.
And
then
like
you
the
had
first Quake Live tournament, it was you or Zamus that won it, right? I think it was you versus Zamus.
Then 2009, I won DreamHack. And then in late 2009, early 2010, Rapha only started to like, winning. Anyway,
I think you won the QuakeCon in 2009. That was it.
No, I didn't win QuakeCon. It was DreamHack.
I mean Rapha.
Okay. Yeah. I think that was against Sparty actually, right? That was that.
Oh, the 2009, yes, Sparty.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't think he learns the fastest out of the all pros, which doesn't mean he learns fast, because if we take majority of regular Joes who are playing Quake, obviously he gonna be like 10 times faster than them, which is compare him to other pros. Strenx
exactly. I think he probably learns faster than anyone outside of the top 4.
Yeah, which is still extremely good. It's just like he's not the fastest learning guy, and it's nothing wrong with that. It's just like it's nothing wrong with Rapha not being the best shotgun player, right? Like what's wrong with that? Like we cannot take this like discussions like very personally, because it doesn't mean anything basically. Okay, Free Spirit. Strength tattoo is about Quake 3, not Quake Champions. Okay.
I don't remember talking about a tattoo. I just remember talking about these visor mask that he uses for DJ, which is definitely Quake Champions.
I spoke about the tattoo, and visor is both Quake Champions, Quake 3. If he did it about Quake 3, then
but he has a lot of songs where they're just from Quake Champions.
Yep. Fawad Rashid, again, when you say who is the most talented player of all time, it's different from saying who is the greatest Quake player of all time.
Yes.
Oh my god, we got a genius here. Thank you. The greatest player of all time has to be Rapha, as he has the trophies. No,
Yes.
he's fucking Einstein. To show for, and he has played and succeeded at multiple iterations of Quake. Yeah, that's what I said in the beginning. That's also, I got like similar opinion. I understand you guys have different opinions, but that's also my take. If we talk about the greatest player of all time, it has to be Rafa now.
And this is probably the most sane comment out of everyone.
Mhm.
Guys not in the Hall of Fame for no reason. As far the most talented, the floor is open for discussion, and all the guys you have analyzed are talented in their own way. Thank you.
Yeah,
This is the point of the video.
yeah, yeah. This is how we understand it. If you guys don't agree, feel free and like speak your mind. It's just how we see it. Then we got another comment. Maybe you fancy to read this one.
I guess I don't know if we have the same order. The one I see next is from APL,
APL.
asking what about Stermy.
No, next one for me is like Jan Kowalski, 1501, the big one.
Oh, guys, you say about Strenx that he is not talented because he did not transition well between Quakes. But oh my god, this comment is so big.
That's why I ask you to read.
Oh my god. But at the same time, you consider cYpheR the most talented ever. How is it possible? cYpheR was not good at Quake 4. He
Let's
admits
stop
it
here.
himself.
Okay,
Okay.
no. Continue, please.
He admits himself and says the game was too fast for him. Then he moved to Quake Live, which was slower. And this is his most successful time when he got his name in Quake. After Quake Live moved to Quake Champions, pretty much did not win anything there. So how in the world this is versatile transition
Okay.
worthy of being called the most talented
Okay.
player ever?
Okay,
You know,
because
many
we need to break this comment into parts, because like I already got so much to say about it.
like you can't. cYpheR has won tournaments in every Quake. He has won tournaments, even if cYpheR admits himself that he was not good at Quake 4. cYpheR won tournaments in Quake 4. Right?
Dude,
Like
if
he won.
cYpheR is not good at Quake 4, where okay,
Then Strenx isn't good anywhere because Strenx never won a LAN.
okay, objectively speaking about Quake 4, what's your top 5 of Quake 4 players all time?
Of Quake 4, it would be Toxic, you,
Mhm.
cooler, cYpheR,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the fifth
yeah.
guy. I'm not sure who would it be.
Yeah, me neither. You cannot name anyone else in top 4 than cYpheR in Quake 4. If
Nice.
if he's so bad at Quake 4, I wish everyone in this world to be so bad at some game like cYpheR was bad at Quake 4. He was like winning tournaments. Like, look, I will open now like plus forward, and we got like results from Quake 4.
He was
Third place.
consistently top 3 in almost
Yep.
every tournament.
Okay, let's skip Giga Games because it was like local tournament. First tournament ESWC 2006 Quake 4. Like he's like second place. He's next
That's
to
the
the
one
champion.
versus wins.
Then he's fifth on QuakeCon. Then Asus, we skip it. WCG fifth, Insomnia fifth, WSVG Louisville third place, WSVG Dallas second place, WSVG Toronto fifth place, and then third place on Insomnia last tournament. He was getting constantly top 3. You know what? I think cYpheR's worst game, which was Quake 4, was better results than Strenx's best game, which was Quake Live.
Yeah, and the thing is, Strenx did not transition for any game. He played Quake Live and he competed in Quake Live. That's it. Whereas cYpheR, even in his worst game, Quake 4, had better results than Strenx had.
And then we opened Quake Champions of Strenx, and we got 8th place in dual EU qualifier. So not global, not NA, not Australia. It's like dual and it's only qualifier, which means people already qualified. 8. Then he's second in 125 FPS Cup, which we don't consider. Then he's 12th in dual EU regional finals. Then he's 5th in FPS Online Cup. Then he's 5th again, not even on DreamHack, but on qualifier. Then he's 9.
I remember the qualifier. That was.
Then he's 9 on Quake World Champion. Then he's 4th on ESWC. And then he's 5th on BYOC dual qualifier DreamHack.
Yeah.
How can
that
you
was
even
a big drop down from him.
how can you even compare it? And
I think
on
the
top of
rankings
that,
died.
how can you say that this is better than this?
Oh no, it was my speakers. Never mind.
It's like it's not even comparable, and saying that Strenx is more successful at Quake Champions than cYpheR at Quake 4 is, I don't know. That's why I opened this, because it's like unbearable in my mind. And everybody gonna tell you that the guy who didn't transition well, the only guy from Quake Pros who didn't transition well, I'm not speaking about the guys who never tried to transition, like CCM or whatever, or 04. The guy who didn't transition well was Strenx. Unfortunately, because I love the guy and like I hang out with him like the most, except cYpheR, for example, or maybe Rapha and Cooler, but he was like there. But he just didn't transition well, and that's the facts.
Sadly.
Yeah, like I understand that Quake 4 cYpheR was like godlike a Quake Live, and it was much better game for him. But you definitely cannot say that he was bad at Quake 4. cYpheR was not good at Quake 4. He admits it himself, and it also shows how professional he is. He was winning tournaments, and he said he was not good at Quake 4. It means he has like a lot of criteria for himself. Like he's not cocky. He's not like, he has a lot of criteria. He saw the room to improve.
I completely agree.
Also, cYpheR started to play Quake when he was 5 years old, if I remember correctly. No, well, he started when
You
he
can
was 10,
ignore most
10,
of that time,
10 years
most of
old.
those that sentence, to be
But
honest.
but do you remember the picture of Strenx when he was like 8 or something, and he
Yeah,
was already had like Quake 3 open on his monitor? It's
yeah,
like irrelevant like argument here.
yeah. And then at the end it says also cYpheR's aim is very decent, but there are better aimers in clawz. And even in this department cannot be called the most talented guy. When you want to, like, if you want to talk mouse control wise, then yes, clawz might be or are better. But if you talk about fight wise, like cYpheR's talent was literally winning impossible fights.
Yeah.
Like that's his talent. You wouldn't get anyone else that could win impossible fights like him. His talent was finding out the exact moment where he has 150 total stack could win a fight versus someone 200 200. You just win fights that are impossible consistently.
Yeah. As an example, Jan Kowalski, you should try to rewatch the game I spoke before. So I was mentioning the arrow walk, cYpheR versus Cooler. And long story short, Cooler was all the time with control. Like all the time he was controlling rail area. He had both like Mega and Red Armor. And he couldn't kill cYpheR. cYpheR was so good at fighting that each time Cooler tried to attack him, he was like getting low with HP and he had to back off. cYpheR was so extremely good, like mechanically there. And it was like this not for one time, two times, three times, or four times. It continued for minutes and minutes and minutes and overtime and overtime and overtime. When finally cYpheR just killed him without having anything. That's that's insane. That's
That's just
insane.
classic cYpheR. That's
Yeah.
what we've seen throughout his whole career
Yeah,
in
that's
every
why
game.
that's why you had like this game where you thought like he gonna lose against the Hunk, right, on the M6. And then he just casually from like pillars from down there, he just hits two or three rockets in the air and he kills the Hunk without having anything. And there were so much more situations like this where cYpheR was pulling out miracles. That's why like there is so many frag movies with him, and like you have to go back with all the games, but the guy is crazy with that. And like this like aiming, like you can like argue with aiming because like for example, mm,
You can like if you want to put cYpheR not at the top tier when it comes to aiming, you can, but you cannot put you have to put cYpheR top tier when you talk about combat. It's two different things, right? Because like I said, aim might just be mouse aiming, and that's fine. It's not that relevant. But when you talk about the combat and the fighting, cYpheR is probably the best.
also I don't want to go into like harsh argument because it's a very like flexible topic. I will give you example like this. If we speak about close and serious, we can get criticized by you guys right away by half of you. Because let's say close and serious are both the greatest aimers, but they are completely different. Because close, why he's so good, he shoots like constantly and he never hesitate. He shoots straight away. It's like you put a glue on his like pointing finger and you glue it to the mouse one, and he just runs around the map like this and he hits everything, which is extreme talent. But cYpheR has much better like mouse control and tracking control. Like he's more precise with it, but he takes his time. So he will take his time for his shots, and then half of you will say that yeah, if we say that cYpheR has more precision, half of you will criticize us because we like mentioned that cYpheR is better at something. But if we say that like clawz is better at shooting and like and no, okay, so you will criticize us that cYpheR is like shooting slower than clawz, and that clawz has no as much precision as cYpheR, but they are both the greatest aimers, if you know what I mean. They are just completely different, and their strength in aiming is completely different. That's why also cYpheR's aim is something different a bit than clawz and cYpheR, although pure aim, as we said before, clawz or cYpheR is better. That's why we also said that cYpheR is very talented at aiming, and cYpheR we consider as the most talented player out there, like general, because mechanically, skill-wise, he's very close to cYpheR and clawz, but he's like much better at other aspects of the game. That's it, basically.
And then he goes on to mention Rapha, which we already discussed when we were watching his plus forward a bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's very successful in Quake Live, Quake Champions, who was the best, considering between Rapha and cYpheR. In Quake Champions, it's only one master. But Rapha did take a while to start winning in Quake Champions, as we've mentioned. Of course, everyone can have their opinion, but for me, all that's apart from mechanical skill, lead to Rapha as not the only GOAT, but also the biggest talent, if you consider the mix of all things. On top of that, if you consider movement as mechanical skill, I think Rapha also has movement from all Quakers. And yeah, I think Rapha now probably does have the best movement overall. Like, I think still the best movement I've ever seen is, Vo0's Anarchy or Tox's Slash, but Rapha has a very high level in every single champion due to how much he grinded. Like, it wasn't supernatural to him.
Mm-hmm.
If we rewatched like Rapha's in 2017, 2018, his movement was nowhere as good as it is now. But that just goes to show how much hard work he puts into the game.
Also, potentially, like I always seen like very big potential in Rapha's movement. Like even in Quake Live, I think his movement was. It's not beautiful movement like cYpheR, because when you watch cYpheR moving around the map, it's like pure poetry. Like he's like controlling the mouse. It's just beautiful to watch. Rapha's like movement is very precise. He barely makes errors and mistakes, and
Yeah,
I
you don't
always
see him
seen that.
running into walls.
Yeah, and the most interesting thing is like I spoke one time with Rapha, and he always said that whenever he goes to LAN, first thing which he's warming up is he's not jumping to the game, he's jumping to the warm up, and for 10 minutes straight he's jumping around the map with few different kind of like champions in Quake Champion, and feeling his mouse and like warming up his movement, and only then he like follows up with like playing itself, so with shooting, with like warming up his head with timing items, etc. So it also shows how much like how he thinks how much impact of a movement has in his game. So I
And it
agree.
makes sense from what we think of Rapha. Like, right? That is all just incredibly deliberate practice.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably the only one out of all the top players that has kept this kind of deliberate practice over the years, and has been even more deliberate as the years go by.
Yeah, and as you mentioned here, Rapha is also very successful in Quake Live and Quake Champion. Um, what else? Rapha as not only the GOAT. Yeah, but that's what I mean. We are not speaking about the results. If you take off all the results and you look at them as how they play, not the results itself, this is what we're basically discussing here. And the like talent, etc. is like
There's one thing here. Like, also his aim nowadays is on par with almost anyone from top 10. Maybe still not top aimer, but for sure he's not Rapha from KL. I'm not sure if I agree with this. Like, his combat skills have improved a lot. His aim also has improved. But we did see him play Quake Live earlier on this year and last year. And as soon as he was playing Quake Live again, like his aim was definitely not as good as it is on Quake Champions. But I think that goes with every Quake Champions player because the
Mhm.
game kind of is very easy to hit, basically, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if that was this comment or someone else, but somebody said that Quake Champions is much harder game. How this game can be much harder than Quake Live? If you
It
hit
has,
everything, you hit everything in this game basically compared
yeah,
to Quake Live, and then you got items which are 30 seconds both. So even if you don't time items, you already know the order. You know how hard it was to know the order of items in Quake Live when when there was 25-35. It actually took
you have
some
to be
skill.
there.
Yeah,
You
you
had to
have to
be
be
there all the time, or you had to be insane at guessing. Like if you
and
saw the guy
awareing. Yeah.
3 seconds earlier, then he should be there. Then you know, oh, okay, he didn't pick up the item. He's delaying it.
Mhm.
It was a really hard guess. If you want to get it, I would love. We could make a video about which game is harder with that kind of stuff. But that would be like a whole video.
Yeah, and I think if you ask any pro, I don't think there will be like many who will tell you that Quake Champions is harder than
Only
Quake
the
Live.
guys who only got pro at Quake Champions would say that.
Yeah, because it's much easier game. It's like, in my opinion, like I played both and it's much easier game. And it's like 10 times easier than Quake 4. Man, if you were hitting 28% LG in Quake 4, you were fucking top aimer.
If I like whenever I see the Quake 4 videos, I only see one person going over 32% LG, and it's toxic.
Yeah, yeah. It's usually 34, 36 for him,
Yeah,
38 sometimes. It's maximum. If you watch how fast the models moved, like how can you even? It's like when you jump to Quick Champions, is as cYpheR said. It's like it felt too fast for him. You said yourself. Yeah, he told me that when he switched from Quake 4 to Quake Live, he felt like he's playing some slow mo or something. And it's like same feeling from jumping from Quake Live to Quake Champions. You feel like you're playing in slow mode, basically. That's why it's very good. Like, and you often see clawz or serious playing from time to time Quake Live because I think that's the great like aim training because it's much harder to hit, right?
yeah. Even more so if you switch to even harder games to hit. Like for instance, Quake 4 was basically as hard to hit as Overwatch when you
Yeah,
when you're fighting the thin models or stuff. It's just a nightmare fuel.
yeah. So again, like we consider Rapha the best player of all time if we think about Quake games, but we're just talking like general talents and we comparing him to like the best. So if in each aspect we compare him to the best player, there's always someone who is like, or better or like close to him. Like even if we speak about the timing and control, we can bring up cooler, who is
Cooler
extremely
spiked in
well.
CZM.
Yeah, who is extremely well with that, or CZM with timing. Like CZM told me that his timing practice was like he was jumping to the warm up game, and he was picking up all the like armors, so like 3-4 armors mega health. He was timing it in his head, and then on top of that he was adding like for example railgun, and he was jumping like this for 15 minutes, like timing in his head like 6 or 8 items.
Actual robot.
Yeah. So if you there's always an exception here. Like so Rafa is the best like player out there,
Yeah,
like by
that's because
results.
he has talent in everything. I would
But
say, like, as you're talking about, like, if you talk about each specific talent, Rafa is maybe not the best in each specific talent, but he's like top 5 in all of them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's very close to being top on in all of them. He's like mastered all the parts of the game. So yeah, I think no harsh feelings, Jan Kowalski. We agree with some of that what you said. Definitely with the movement. Even though you brought Tox Slash here, I don't think Tox movement is as good as Rafa overall. Especially nowadays. I think nowadays Rafa's movement is the best in the world. It's not the
Yeah,
most beautiful, but it's the best, like most
yeah,
efficient.
yeah.
If we speak about like comparing him to Zanaku, Zanaku movement is not as efficient, and they are on two different sides of the skill set with movement. Uh, Thank you for commentating because that's a long comment and we appreciate that. And then we got AdanKownacki. I disagree with cYpheR being the most talented player. When we talk about talent in Quake jewel and all the things that matter in jewel from mechanics to game sense, I think that nobody can touch Raisy. The guy came from completely different genre of games. He started competing against gods of Quake like a year after he learned how to strafe jump, and he was always competing at the very top, almost always in top 3. Don't forget that Quake Champions is harder game than the all other Quakes. In old Quakes there was one meta and different maps. In Quake Champions the whole meta changes according to what champions you are playing with and what champions are you playing against. Raisy has mastered all champions. The guy cannot play Quake Champions for months, then hop into the game and compete with the best player just like that. You could never say the same thing about cYpheR.
I want to get into a rant over this comment because this comment is just factually wrong. Raisy grinded Quake Live a lot. Like if we look
Yeah,
at his QL stats profile, which is actually wrong, which is actually hidden now. He has like a lot of games in Quake Live. Can you guess his elo in Quake Live Duel, Avec?
no, no, but what I want to add to it, like you even have a video on this channel when Raisy is speaking about it himself, how much he played like previous Quakes before he played Quake Champions.
He
But
has grinded a lot.
I don't know, but I think it's very low, I think.
He has 2.3k elo in Quake Live Duel.
Okay.
2.3k. Like
Yeah.
the guy was he had more elo than me at Quake Live Duel.
Yeah. Yeah.
My peak elo is 2.3k.
Yeah.
And so he was in terms of like dual elo, he was around the same elo as like the top 20 guys in Quake Live Duel. He just never really competed because at that time he was super focused in Counter Strike.
Hmm.
But
And he even
he
played.
didn't learn how to strafe jump and then jump into Quake Champions a year later. He has been grinding Quake for a long time.
Mhm. About Quake Champions being much harder game than the other Quakes
We
we
already
already
mentioned.
spoke about. Uh, I just don't agree. Like simply, if you think that Quake Champions is
You
much
can't
harder,
agree because
then yeah.
Champions has more things, right? That's it. Quake Champions has more things. But more things, when it becomes too many things added, it makes the game a little bit more random. And what it does is dilute the skill gap between the semi pros to the top pros. That's what
Mhm.
Quake Champions really did because it brought the overall skill ceiling maybe a little bit lower. So
Yeah.
and diluted that skill gap between semi pro to pro. Even Rapha right now, he can go a LAN without losing a map to anybody, and he can still drop maps
Yeah.
in ranked to
Yeah.
people that are 1.8k elo because of
Exactly.
that randomness.
That's extremely good point, and it's not a bad thing. That's a good thing for nowadays modern games. You cannot have game like Quake Live where it's almost impossible to get in because it's so hard. Like you need to have some easier games. I don't think Quake Champions is much harder than the other Quakes, especially not Quake 4, like mechanical wise. Anyway, we already spoke about it. The guy cannot play QC for months, then hop into the game and compete with the best players just like that. I agree and I don't agree. I think he has certain talent for like jumping to the game and being good. I don't agree because like King on this season clearly shows you that it's not like that. It doesn't work like
Yeah,
that. They were the best team with vengeuR like for 2 or 3 years online, and now they cannot get to top 4.
yeah. We're hoping they get off their asses in practice for the LAN because we think they have the highest potential of any team, but they clearly have to practice or they will not make it.
Mhm. Which I said similar thing in this video for cYpheR. It's not like cYpheR is kind of the guy who will get into new game and be really good straight away because he never was. It always took him some practice. It's just not to the degree of like, for example, cYpheR, where like cYpheR, he stops playing the game for 2 weeks. He jumps on the game, and the first game of his looks like he never touched the Quake in his life.
Yeah.
So it's like, but cYpheR also needs like some practice before he becomes really, really good. Um, Raisy overall really good, but also as we mentioned in this video, I think we need to look at the different kind of Quakes, like how he played, how he switched to different Quake, how he switched to different game, if he was successful in CS, which is not really comparable because it's much bigger game anyway. So we skip that. But yeah, we don't have enough data on Raisy and we don't have enough data on vengeuR to really say how much talent they got because we can say that they are great players and vengeuR on is like in my opinion. Okay, so let's look at the world champions which we had in Quake Champions. It was Rapha, Kilson, vengeuR, uh, and cooler one like LAN, right? That's it. clawz. I'm sorry, clawz. So we got 5 guys, and vengeuR is in there. We didn't
Didn't
mention
the Hank win LAN as well?
who
The Hank?
and the Hank. I'm sorry, he won like DreamHack. Yeah, he won DreamHack 2017. So
Well,
we got
Raisy won a LAN as well, I think, right? I think he won 2 LANs before KPL.
yeah, but I don't think that lands were like as stacked. But you cannot take away anything from Raisy anyway, because like I think he had majority of second places, which puts
Yeah.
him like one of the most like successful Quake Champions players out there. Okay, by results, he's definitely much more successful in Quake Champions than cYpheR. Right, because he was like so many times second. cYpheR never like managed to like to get really good results in Quake Champions. Actually, he never managed to win like major tournament in Quake Champions like he did in previous Quakes. That's another video story, because like like whole problems with him traveling and competing, and then like all the situations in the world, like the guy was like the most blocked player out there to play.
Yep.
uh, but yeah, if we talk about results, like I think like you could like now you can like compare, for example, vengeuR getting 1 world champion and Raisy getting like, let's say, 10 second world champion places, and then we can value like which is more valuable. Because I'm old school, for me there's only one winner, and champion is always a champion, and vengeuR for me will be always a world champion of Quake champion. That's it. That's for me.
He's a champion.
She's champion
One thing I want to say about Raisy is that like when it comes to hard work versus talent, Raisy is one of the most hardworking players in Quake Champions, because he comes from like that Counter-Strike scene, right?
Mhm.
Where even if you want to get tier 4, you need to work a lot harder than most Quake pros work to even get top 2, top 3.
Mhm.
Just because it's a much bigger scene, it requires a lot more practice. So even him, when he was practicing Quake Champions, even though he wasn't maybe taking it as super seriously as he could, he was still grinding. Like he was doing 24-hour streams, grinding only one champion without abilities.
Yeah.
He was doing that regularly.
Yeah.
He was super hardworking. Perhaps the one guy, when he was serious, he was practicing harder than Rapha.
Yeah. Also, what I really like from talent aspect from Raisy is like I always thought he has like a lot of mechanical talent. Even though his sense was always very low, his movement didn't seem like really nice or anything, but there was also not much errors in his movement, especially that he learned clutch and like those kind of champions. And his aim was kind of like, it was very precise. You never seen him like doing any sharp moves. He was very similar to Sirius at some point. I don't know, like I always had some kind of like, sentiment for Raisy aim. Like I think it was like worth to like jumping deep into that subject, because I think he had some like
He was
some
always very
degree,
solid.
yeah, some degree of talent in aiming. He was always very, he was like better the Hank in my opinion. Very solid, even more solid than the Hank with aiming. And
But to be
like
honest, when you
you
have that
never speak you
sense,
never speak about his aim, but whenever I played him, I felt extremely hard hitting like
yeah,
player against playing against me.
to be honest, when you have that low sense, your aim is gonna be solid at the very least, right? Because
Yeah,
you're gonna hit the shots that you need.
yeah. Okay, what about Stermy? We didn't speak
You
about him
forgot
at all.
Stermy. Forgot Stermy.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
So
I'm
yeah,
sorry, Stermy.
sorry as well, but it's like I think I mentioned Stermy at some point when I was speaking about aim, that like he was like he was aiming with movement much better than anyone else at that time. Everybody tried to like adjust mouse too much, and Stermy was really good like at like aiming with movement, but he was also a bit easier to hit because of that. Similar to
Mhm.
Strenx a little bit. Like much different than evil as what we said. Like who was like just like AD and still hitting a lot. But yeah, we forgot about them.
The one thing I could say about Stermy is that in both the games that he competed actively, it was like in Quake 4 and Quake Live, he was a very solid top 8 player that everyone was scared of going against because he could take out the pros if he was
Yeah,
having a good game.
yeah. I don't think he was mentally as strong. I remember I won Insomnia in grand final against Stermy, and I was coming from loser bracket, and I won two times BO3, I think, because he kind of choked in that final, and I was like 16 or 17. So yeah, but aim wise, I think he was really talented. He
I
was
think
sim
Stermy wins the prize for being the best looking Quake player ever.
Yeah, and I think he was also very similar to Fatality School, but with more talent and more mechanical skills than Fatality. I think his aim was better and like movement.
For sure.
Excel FPS. The previous comment was by abepl. Excel FPS. I think Faye is up there in terms of talent. Yeah, but it's like similar and even to more degree than Raisy. We don't have enough data on him because I never seen him playing in any other game. I just recently found out about him that he's playing 2v2 and he's playing good. Maybe if we make a podcast with him, we can like learn something else. But mechanically and aim wise, he's like very good, and I think he's similar to Sirius. Still, I would say Sirius is a better aimer, right?
I think that's up for debate, I suppose. I mean, he learned from Sirius, so
Okay, okay, yeah. Uh, Extra sugar. Talent doesn't exist. Skill is a mix of practice and lots of other conditions, private life, and your own history. And practice is only a coefficient.
I almost agree, but it's just because talent is so hard to define
Yeah.
that you can attribute what we call talent as anything else, basically.
Mhm. That's why I don't want also to push my like perspective too much because I don't want to get into the beef with you guys and like piss you off because you know like everybody gonna defend their own mind and like if that's talent for you then like we kind of misinterpret it and like if we go by your conditions that there's no talent then yeah then Rapha is the most talented player. uh yeah, ever heard of Vo? We already touched this subject. uh
Even in the video, we talked about it.
Yeah, no one of them. The most talented place is between Trash04, known for his small playtime, used to train only a few matches a day, since you were talking about that, and equally talented Lackerman. Okay, I can agree with cYpheR. I also heard the story that he was kind of the guy who really thought about the game, and he never like really practiced as much, but he overthought the game like a lot and he was like a great champion. He was also winning Quakes, one of the greatest champions. Yeah, maybe we are a bit too young to like fully understand like
Yeah, that's
his
the
like
big thing, right? They,
brilliance.
these guys were all way before our time, but for 04, he was definitely talented because, like, in the first Quake Live LAN, he
Hmm.
got to the finals versus cYpheR, and then he
Yeah,
played QuakeCon again in 2016, 8 years after his last competition, and he got third place or fourth place, like
yeah,
without having played at all for like years. So yeah, he's definitely very talented.
yeah. And if we talk about the era when there was like Fatality calling himself the best FPS player out there, and Trash was competing with him, I think talent-wise, Trash was like more talented player than Fatality. It's just Fatality used his whole brand and idea of like jumping into the new game first and practicing and
But
winning
that's
it
his talent.
to build. Yeah, that's his talent to build the whole like beats that's industry becoming a rich, selling his name. Like that's what he did the better than most of the pros because most of the Quake pros like were spending like money left and right, like buying bullshit and like never thinking about the future. And he kind of built himself a name. He became a rich guy and like even though I don't agree that he was the best FPS player, by far he was not. Well, the most important is that he convinced the most of the society who is not like familiar with games that he was, and he built name on that, and he became rich on that. Like,
He
but
became
if
the most famous.
yeah, that history like continues in all the sports. It's like you can always find an example like this. Lackerman, I remember watching his games, like all Lackerman. It was oh my god, T4 games of his like were crazy, and like I can't like really say much more about him because I'm not from that era. I never knew how he practiced, with who he practiced, and what was his life like. I don't know much about. I never in my life, I never spoke with Lackerman, I think.
I hope we don't have many comments left because this was supposed to be a short
I
video and
know,
we've been at it
I
for over
know.
an hour now.
This guy continues with while cYpheR is tremendous player with specific style, his dubious usage of marijuana play a role. He has also been playing since like when 12. Yep, agree. Rapha is not a particular super talent because if you put away his super strong timing and memory, you remain with what? With
Decision making,
decision
practice,
making, like understanding
a
what's
lot
gonna
of things
happen.
still.
Yeah, but I agree. He's not the most talented out there. As we said before, these three players though, Trash Lackerman and Zero 4, when they played was like a symphony in motion, each with very different movement and beautiful play. And I'm glad that there is some of you guys who still remember those kind of players, and I appreciate your comments. Pro players from modern day times are out of the question also because the game became more and more timing and aiming while other things, exactly those that show up talent, fell behind. There's also me, but I never trained enough of the modesty. And yeah, and we also mentioned in the video, it's very hard, for example, to, I don't know, to compare old champions to new champs because you always have the sympathy for the old champions, but on other hand, you understand that the whole Quake was different and it was easier, and that's why I still, for me, Muhammad Ali will be still the same like caliber of the boxer, if not bigger, because I got sympathy for him as like Tyson Fury now. It's like I understand that maybe if they met now, it will be completely different because like it was like almost 80 or 50 years like after 50 years
Of
of
course.
like development of boxing itself and like
Yeah.
the things you can learn and catch faster, so it made the better boxers now, and same with Quake basically.
Yeah.
mm,
And my only take on like the older players like pre 2004 is that most of the people who competed needed to already have a good PC with good internet to at least practice. I
mhm.
think that was the biggest talented back then. So
Okay,
I think it's a low validity environment.
the last comment was from Dafarii, and he said about CZM, I can imagine him not having the time to grind as much as the others S-tier players from his era. We already spoke about him, I think, fair enough, and he was like walking calculator, and this is what we said like even in the previous video as well as this video. So we gave him credit enough, I think, for that, and
Yeah.
definitely. And we also said that one of the best railguns, and like, yeah, definitely. Uh, One of the best Aerowalk players at some point. Uh, anyway, that's second video about this subject. You probably
Nice.
again not gonna agree with half of what we said, so we're
That's
gonna
50
be
keeping, guys.
so keep commentating on this one, and we're gonna jump back to your comments like next week again.
And
No,
if we have to make 4 videos about this, the fifth video will just be a 5 hour long stream.
yeah,
So you can
no,
berate us in real time.
I mean I think you guys understand how like complex and like very like difficult subject it is, right? And imagine now nightmare in my head when I looked at my OBS and I thought I didn't press the record button, but don't
Oh
worry,
my
I
god.
did. I did. It's 1 hour 22 minutes, and I'm starting to
Nice.
losing voice. But yeah, guys, let us know what you think in the comments. If you don't agree, still speak your mind. I think it's a very, very complex topic, and it's really hard to agree on this one. It's not black or white, and you cannot straight straight away say anything about this subject. We can do I seen you and Sirius and NSC are making the aim tier list. So if you
Yeah.
guys want to debate even more on that, do you guys have it on YouTube or you have it on Twitch
We
only?
haven't uploaded it to YouTube yet. I'll export it in a. Well, I'll
Okay.
export it after this, I guess.
All right. So if
I
you
mean, game
guys
tier list is on YouTube. The combat tier list, which we did after, isn't on YouTube yet.
yeah. So that's another topic which is super difficult, and I think there will be many of you who will not agree with this one as well,
Yep.
even though it's less complex than the whole talent, because it's only one part of the whole talent. It's like mechanical. It's not even mechanical. It's only aim. And you see
And
how
only a
many
full B and
disagreements you got
rail.
there? Yeah. And you see,
So many.
yeah. And
So many.
so yeah. So I'm not concerned that there was so many disagreements there, and I think you guys behaved well, and like you didn't insult anyone, so it's fine and it's good. Anyway, I'm losing my voice. Thank you for this one, and keep in touch, Bruno.
Yeah. See you guys next week for part 3.
Yeah, see ya.